Are you working on the job site? Are you in an office working on a team? Are you a superintendent or a project manager? Well, today we're going to be talking about leading from wherever you are. Join us today for this week's episode of the Surging Forward podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Surging Forward broadcast, where we're helping you to have a positive view in a negative world. My name is David Ballantyne, and I'm here to help you see the value in the job you do and how you can keep surging forward. Hello, and welcome to the Surging Forward podcast. Again, we're trying out this video thing again, so we'll see how it works out. And so far, I got a lot of good response from the last one. I want to take a few minutes to welcome you if this is your first time listening. This is a show that provides a positive view in a negative world. You see, I came up from the trades just like a lot of you are still in the trades right now, and some of you are supervisors and project managers. But in teaching the apprenticeship course all these years, I realize that a lot of you guys aren't getting the leadership that they need. So that's why I've decided to do this, to give back to my community and serve those that are wanting to learn leadership skills. So if this is your first time listening, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule, especially if you're watching this on video. If you're listening to the audio and driving in your car, well, sit back and relax, and hopefully it'll help the traffic go by a little bit easier. Because that's the one great thing about podcasts. I've really started listening to a lot of them now. So again, welcome to the Surging Forward Show. And we are, again, today going to be talking about leading from wherever you are. This is episode number 40. Now, we're already in 40. 12 more, and we'll have a full year under our belts. So that's pretty good, starting from nowhere. 8 months, or now it's almost 9 months ago, I didn't even know what a podcast was. And this has really been a really cool adventure. I want to thank you for all your input and for what you guys have encouraged me to continue to keep doing this. So as I'm continuing to bring these messages forward, I hope that you're going to get a little bit of benefit out of it. And again, just take the time. If you have any questions, feel free to go on my website at surgingforward.com and shoot me an email and sign up for our newsletter. I have a little site there, and we keep people posted every week, or at least I try to get one out weekly. With the podcast now, the newsletters have come out like once every 2 weeks. But just a way to keep in touch, and I'll let you know about some free things going on, and pretty soon we'll get the leadership courses out. But again, each week I try to bring a little bit more insight to help you to be able to succeed in a negative world. So let's get started. Like I said, today we're going to talk about, how things are going in the trade. I know there's a lot of guys working in the trade out there, and they may just be starting out. They may have only been in the field for 1, 2, 3, 5, maybe even 6 years. And you just feel like, I'm not a leader, and so I'll just be a follower. Well, you never want to just stay with the status quo of being a follower. A lot of people think that you have to be in charge to be a leader. So I'm going to be outlining 7 steps where you can be a leader from wherever you are. And we'll be talking about those in a few minutes. But I want to encourage you that it doesn't matter what level you're at. We're going to be talking about the levels of leadership, whether you're just starting out, or you're working in a crew, or even if you're working in an office area. So it doesn't matter where you are. You can lead from wherever point you are. And we're going to talk about those 7 steps that are going to help you get to that point. And you could start it from anywhere, but you always have to start somewhere. And you lead from the point where you are at that moment. Because there's people that you're influencing around you, whether you realize it or not. You might be influencing them negatively. Hopefully not. We're always trying to stay positive in what we do, but you may not realize how you may have negatively influenced somebody without even thinking about it. Sometimes we get so caught up in our day-to-day actions that We don't think about some of the things we do. And I know the work's tough out there. It's hot in the summer, cold in the winter, but you know, we're always trying to get that particular task done. And a lot of times we don't understand what's going on behind the scenes. So let's jump right into it. Leadership, again, starts from wherever you are. If you're just starting out, or if you're working on the crew, you can make a difference. You can provide a leadership from those around you. You can take point and make a difference and influence somebody. So let's talk about the 7 steps. Number 1, you want to be a good listener. So many people try to push their way to the top by saying, I'm better than you, or, get the A personalities out there. You get 2 guys like that and they just want to go at it, And that's really not the way it works. We need to be out there and say, okay, you want to be able to listen and understand what the issue is. So many times, and I know there's guys out there because I see it in my class all the time. You have the answer, but you're afraid to step forward and give that answer. So don't be afraid to do that. If you feel like you know what the answer is, put some input out there. Put your name out there and say, hey, help to solve an issue. Because it starts from the bottom. The leaders that are way up at the top, they have no idea what's really going out in the field. I've had the opportunity from going from the ground up. And the only thing that's kept me close to what's going on in the field is, number 1, I teach the apprenticeship program. So that keeps me close to what it was like. So I can never forget where I came from. But what happens with a lot of guys, the further up the ranks they go, they sort of forget where they came from. Well, that's where this podcast is for you guys also, because you never want to forget where you came from. The other thing is, I also work as an inspector during the day. So again, that keeps me right on the job site. I'm right there, and I see some of the struggles that go on. So I understand it can be tough sometimes, but you want to be a good listener so you understand the issue. And that way you can understand what other people's views are also. So that brings me to the next one. Number 2, take a risk. Go ahead and help that person out that you're working with. You see, we're all at different levels in our career. I mean, you got people out in the field that's been there for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And then you get like me, been in there for 30 years. Never assume that somebody knows as much as you know. I have had first-year guys tell me something that I didn't know, which is really kind of cool. It's like, wow, because we're all learning together. So never be afraid to help that person out that's with you, especially if you've been in the field a little bit longer. Because remember what it's like when you first stepped into a new job, or you went to a new place, or even when you went on the job site for the first time. Everything is it's a mystery. You just don't know. So you don't even know the right questions to ask. Well, go ahead and help that guy out. You never know. He may be somebody that may help you get a job later on down the line. You see, that's how it works, my friends. You never know how influencing somebody else is going to help you years down the road. Okay? So that brings me to the next point. Number 3. If you see somebody struggling, encourage them. Never be afraid to encourage somebody. Always, we all get down times. So be that guy that says, hey, you're not looking right today. You look like you're a little bummed out. Not to mention that it's Monday morning and nobody wants to really be there anyway. But you just seem a little more down than usual. What's going on? So encourage them. Say, hey, we get through this job here. It's not going to be so hard here. If we do this way, it might be a little bit easier. Or I'll tell you what, instead of you going up and down the ladder today, how about if I go up and down the ladder and help you out? So encouragement goes a long way. You never know what's going on behind the scenes in somebody's life. It's amazing. We cover up a lot of things when we go to work. Somebody might be having issues. I had a guy tell me the other day, he came in and he just looked a little bit down, and I asked him, and come to find out his grandfather just passed away. That's tough. And he wouldn't have told me, and it's not like I was prying and asking, and he didn't even have to tell me. But at that point, I just gave him a little bit of encouragement. Said, that's a tough situation. You don't have to have an answer. Encouraging somebody doesn't mean you have to have the answer for everything. And the best thing to do is don't feel like you have to have the answer, because you probably don't know the answer. Encouraging doesn't mean having the answers to all of life's problems. It just means taking a moment to listen and saying, yeah, I feel your pain, you know? What can I do to help you out today to kind of make it go a little bit easier, you know? That takes us to step number 4. When you're doing steps 1, 2, and 3, you're starting to develop a team spirit. Developing that team spirit is going to help you be able to work as a team. No matter what level you're at, whether you're down at the bottom or you're at the top, none of us can do the jobs that we do by ourselves. I mean, yes, you might be running service calls and going out by yourself and answering calls. But I guarantee you there comes times when you have to work together, or you have to have a teammate out there, you have a helper, or you have someone else out there crawling around and working with you. And, we want to have a team spirit. And even if you're working by yourself all the time, there's still a team spirit in the main part of the office, in the main area. And you want to keep that team spirit because you never know when you might need their help. And then when they need your help, always want to be there. You want to make sure that you make them look good. The whole idea of being a team is making others look good. It's not about making me look good. Because if I make me look good, I could tear apart the whole team. It's just like in a football game. If I'm the one that is the superstar and always want to catch the passes, and I just aggravate everybody else, well, nobody's going to block for me. And if they don't block for me, it doesn't matter how many times I catch the ball, I'm not going to go anywhere. So again, it's a team spirit. We're all working together. No matter what company you work with, even if you're working on your own, it's a team spirit because you want to develop that with your customers also. These same attributes can be used for dealing with your customers and your clients. Okay. Number 5, show the respect that's due to those above you, even if you don't like them. All right, there is no rule that says I have to like all those that are working above me in authority. There's no rule that says, I have to be your buddy or friend. Matter of fact, a lot of times it can cause a hindrance if you're a friend of somebody above you. They might make you work a little bit harder sometimes so that they're not showing favoritism. But with that said, you don't have to always like them, but you need to show the respect of the position. And the way I always like to do it, I'm not afraid to give my opinion. I give my opinion when I see a situation on a job site and I say, okay, we need to do this or this or this because I have this particular problem up there in the field. Well, if the person that's above me looks and says, no, this is the way it's going to get done. Well, okay. As long as it doesn't jeopardize my integrity or my safety, I'm going to go ahead and do it exactly the way he said to do it. Because number one, I don't know what kind of meetings he's been to. When you move up to those levels, you start understanding that, wow, I might have already spent 4 hours or more talking about the very same good idea that you came up with, but the people actually paying for the job want it done this way. And I really don't have 4 hours to tell you about all the things I have to do. I have to try to portray a positive attitude myself. So show the respect. Again, even if you don't like the guy. And an old mentor told me one time, you learn how to play the game. And so you just got to learn how to follow the rules and move forward. Well, and that brings us over to number 6. Help others to succeed in their job. A lot of times people don't want to help others succeed because they fear that they're going to be taking my job. But don't ever feel that because they may have something to teach you. When you help somebody else succeed, there's a sense of pride there. And it's like, wow, right away, when you praise somebody else, you automatically lift them up to a point where they have a respect for you beyond no other, because praise has sort of gone out the window right now. All we do today, and I see it all the time on the job site, as soon as something goes on, boom, we want to blame somebody else. And so many people get an attitude because they get blamed for things that they didn't even do. So they're constantly in a defense mode. We see it on the media. We see it all around us. So help others succeed, and don't worry about them taking your job. That's going to only create that little bit of a bond. And finally, number 7, seek out training. And if you can find someone to provide it, take advantage of that. And this is where my offer comes to you. This is what Surging Forward is all about. You see, I'm offering a lot of coaching right now. I'm offering a lot of training. And a lot of stuff right now is free if you just drop me a line. And of course, I keep it, confidential. I don't go talking about everything. And there's a lot of guys that are already emailing me with their information. And I talk to them freely. But take advantage of that because right now it's free. And I'm not charging for any of it. But as my time gets tighter and tighter and tighter, I'm probably going to start charging for some of those services. And it won't be an enormous fee, but it's going to have to be something to compensate me for being away from home so much. Because otherwise my wife will start charging me. So, but no, seek out training. And it's not always about the cost, my friends. You're going to get what you pay for on things. Now, I do have my code update courses that I have, and now I've even expanded to where I have the contractors prep courses. I have exam prep courses to help you, excel in your exams for HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and the courses are available out there for you. And on top of that, if you ever have any problems or questions, again, I'm available for you to just email me and send me a question. I put my email out there on every one of these podcasts. It's dave@surgingforward.com. And I'll probably announce it again at the end. And it's also going to be on the show notes. But take advantage of it. Always be seeking more training. You never, ever, ever learn everything you need to do. Once you become satisfied, I was listening to another podcast today from a guy that says, talking about, getting out of the grind. And it was a new podcast I just started listening to. He's just starting it out. But he said something very interesting. And it was pretty cool. And if you're not moving forward, or maybe it was another podcast. But anyhow, I listen to quite a few of them now. But if you're not moving forward, you're becoming stagnant. So the whole idea is when you're training, you're learning something new. You really need to be trying to learn something new at least once a week. All right? And if you can't do it once a week, no less than once a month. You should always be learning something new. If you go for 1 month without learning something new, whether it was online, it was on a Google, it was on an online course, or if it was some kind of training that your company sent you, you're going to just become stagnant. So always seek out the training. So again, take advantage of me a little bit if you want. Just, I'm here to help you out. If I can't help you, I'll tell you. I'm always very honest with people. So again, if we do these few things, you're going to get respect among your peers and also those in charge above you. Now, let's talk about this for a minute. If you're a foreman or a lead manager or a lead man or whatever it is, I like to call this the meat that's between the bread. You're kind of like middle management. Okay? You're in a position where you have to deal with running the job. You have those in charge of you that are, telling you to do things that really don't understand what's going on the job. And this position really requires that you really step up to be a leader. And you may feel like you're getting hit from all ends because you're getting it from the guys below you that don't know how to do certain things. You're getting it from the top. And sometimes it's really tough. Well, the main thing you want to focus on in this particular level of your career is the job or the task that you need to complete. That's what needs to be your main focus of what you're working on. So, if you start looking at the whole job or you look at everything out, sometimes you may have to stay 3 or 4 months ahead of the job because you want to be looking ahead a little bit. But you can't always look at the whole thing. You want to take it little pieces at a time and concentrate on the task that's at hand. Second, you want to go ahead and continue to keep applying steps 1 through 7, as we talked about before. And as I talk about those again, you want to be a good listener. You want to take a risk and help the person out that's working around you or below you. You want to encourage those that are struggling. You want to develop that team spirit. You want to show respect to those above you, even if you don't like them. You want to help others succeed. And don't worry about them taking your job as a foreman because all you might do is move up. And again, all else, you want to seek out the training. You definitely need to keep seeking out training. And again, I'm working with a friend of mine right now who's in a foreman position and he's kind of struggling with some things. So he calls me up every so often when he gets into a jam. I actually told him, I said, if you want to vent, don't vent on your guys out there in the field. Give me a call before you lose it out in the field. That way we can kind of talk about it, see where it's at. Well, we're going to have those tough times when things don't go right. And believe me, they will come. Trust me, if you haven't seen them yet, they're going to come. And they're probably going to come at your worst time. And it's not always going to be just when you're thinking about it. So again, you're going to have to remind yourself, what is the task that needs to be done? Need to truthfully and very, humbly evaluate what the issue is. Don't try to pin the blame on somebody. You don't want to be quick to judge. You don't want to just say, oh man, you're just a jerk and you did this and this. Entertain suggestions from the team or crew that was working on it. This is going to show them that you see a value in them. Don't just try to pop in with your solution. Have them give solutions, because that's what helps build the team spirit. Now again, you may not like any of their solutions and you might have a better idea. That's great. Go ahead and, give that idea out there and say, hey, let's try to do it this way instead. The next thing you want to know is you want to keep a handle on tearing anybody down. You see, deep down, everyone wants to be needed. They all want to do a good job. So this is where you can help bring others' self-esteem up to a higher level. It's up to you as this second-tier leader to make sure that you're doing that for your team. So once you find the solution, go ahead and proceed to correct the issue, whatever the case may be. You can find out why it happened later. And if it was a cause of a certain person, then you address it with them. I would suggest you also do it in private. You don't want to be addressing things out in public. You see, addressing issues with individuals in private, that provides them the respect to that person. And others are going to see this also. If you call someone out in public and you humiliate them, well, number one, it makes you look really, really bad. Number two, you're going to lose the respect of the people down around you. And when you dress them down, it just causes discontent to where nobody wants to even approach you anymore. So do it in private. Now, during this time when you're in private, you don't have to chew them out. I mean, not unless it's something that's going on and on and on and on and on. I got to admit, I kind of like the 3 or 4 strikes, you're done. You got to give it enough time. But when you talk to somebody, give them at least 2 praises before you address the issue. And one of the ways I like to address the issue with that is simply ask a question. Instead of you saying what they should have done, ask them, what do you think could have been done to avoid the issue at hand? This allows them with a sort of self-discipline. And you'll find over time what they'll do. A lot of times they'll tell you what the problem was, and what they should have done. Now, once this is done, you could say, yeah, why don't we try to do that next time? Or you can offer other suggestions if they couldn't come up with anything. But based on their comments, again, this maintains a respect for the team. They're encouraged to grow from the issue instead of being ticked off and stomping their feet and grabbing their tools and going home. And then they bring the rest of the team down with them with a bad attitude. Because when they come back, they're going to be singing your praises about how great you are, right? Wrong. They're going to be tearing you down. And even the guys that you've won over that like you, they're going to be caught between, oh, wow, I saw what happened. He really dressed that guy down in public. So don't put yourself in that position. Try to keep the positive attitude. Now, if you're a supervisor, project manager, district manager, or even upper management, you're more likely to be in charge of multiple jobs where your time is just stretched between many tasks and all kind of different areas or locations. The first thing you want to do is follow steps 1 through 7 again. And they are definitely worth going over. You want to make sure that you're a good listener. You want to go ahead and help the person that's working directly under you. You want to encourage that foreman or that lead man who's directly under you. Encourage them if they're struggling. Help them develop a team spirit. And again, you probably have a boss too, and it's telling you things that you don't like. Show them the respect that's needed. Help those around you succeed, even if they're working on other jobs. Don't worry about them taking your jobs because they're probably overloaded just as much as you are. So all of us have something to teach each other. And again, last but not least, continue to seek out the training. If you notice, training has never gone away from this, okay? Now, you want to listen to the other concerns and issues that those in your middle management have on the different jobs. You see, they're at the forefront, and they may just have the answers to a problem before it even happens. So when they come to you with a problem, just don't shove it under the carpet. Make sure you take a time to listen, because you may prevent a catastrophe, and it may save your budget. Because again, when there's a problem out in the field, it's not a matter of if it will come about. It's a matter of when, because it will. So make sure you're listening to your middle management there, those right below you. When you have issues, follow the same steps as before for the middle management. Don't dress them out in public. Call them into your office and address them privately, or just take them around the corner to the side. And it's an easy way to deal with the issues there. So the way you manage is going to flow down to the crew level. If you manage in a positive way, the whole team's going to stay positive, because they're going to have that respect for one another. If you manage with the crack the whip, down and dirty, my way or the highway, well, that's how your crew's going to be down below. They're going to be chaotic, wild, crazy, nuts. Nobody's going to care about getting anything done. There's going to be all these battles down at the bottom. So it has to start from you, where you're at. Now, in closing, there's always going to be those that are just plain troublemakers. They may be part of the crew. They may be part of one other team. If the situation continues, it may be time for you to talk to them and say, hey, you know what? You're not a good fit. And you need to provide them with the opportunity to move on if they can't change. In other words, if you don't change, I'm going to have to let you go. It's not that I want to let you go, but obviously you don't want to be here. If the trouble's from middle or upper management, you can still maintain a positive view for all those around you and all those under you. Don't let the negativism trickle down so it will destroy you and your team. You see, other people are going to see that you're doing a good job. And if they don't, well, sometimes it takes time, but if you're producing, most people are going to see those changes. But even if they don't, and you get caught up in, it's just a bad management deal, well, guess what? Nobody's making any changes. You may have to decide it's not a fit for you. And you may have to look for better opportunities and move on. Because there are some companies out there that are just, knock out, drag out, and this is the way it is. But those kind of companies aren't going to survive too much longer. Because people don't like to tolerate that anymore. Because, again, we all want to make a difference. You want to have an opportunity to be able to excel yourself. And if you're not getting the training, again, at least once a month, seek it out yourself. But it's out there. I've just offered you mine for free. So feel free to ask me. Now, if you want to get, some advice on things, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Again, I'm doing the same thing, asking questions. But you don't want to keep yourself in a negative situation. So in closing, I want to say thanks again for listening. And when you get a chance, check out our website at surgingforward.com. We've made some changes there. So if you're looking to expand your trade, or if you need your CEUs for your license renewal, go ahead and check it out. We have a lot of cool things there now, and, it's available to you. So I just lost my whole thing here. I just lost my whole train of thought where I was going. This has been a long podcast. I've gone on a little bit longer than usually. But again, you check out the website. You want to get a renewal, or you want to get special contractor classes. I'm doing a special thank you for anyone listening to this particular podcast right now. I might put it out later, but if you use the code SURGINGFORWARD, number 5, you can get a special 5% discount off of any course. Just put it in the coupon code. When you get ready to check out, you choose whatever course you want, and you do the word SURGING5. That's SURGING 5. And you're going to get a 5% discount on any of the courses that are out there. This is just my way of saying thank you for allowing me to serve you on a weekly basis. And be sure to tell a friend about the podcast. Help them along in their career. And, tell them what a podcast is. Whatever podcast app you're using to sign up on, show them how it's done. On their way to work, they can listen to podcasts. I've got 40 of them now. This is the 40th episode. So there's almost 40 hours of, well, not quite 40 because I keep them at 30 minutes. So you've got almost 20 hours of stuff that you can listen to that's going to be a positive motivation to help you in your career. So help me pass the word, especially I'm trying to get out the tradesmen there. Also, don't forget to subscribe. If you happen to be on iTunes, leave us a review. iTunes is kind of the big guys here, but either or, the reviews aren't a big thing for me. Listen on your favorite podcast app and show a friend how to use a podcast. So, again, if you have any career issues in the field, or you want a second opinion about something when you're stuck in the middle, feel free to give me an email to dave@surgingforward.com. So, my friends, I think I've gone on long enough on this one here. I want to thank you again for the privilege to be able to pass on a little bit of what I've learned over the past 30 years and pass it on to you and to my fellow peers. And I want to thank them and all my friends who have encouraged me to keep surging forward. Stay safe, my friends, and God bless.